first, you know, Detroit destroyed Dallas yesterday. I mean, you could say it a million different ways. You could say they destroyed them, they mollywopped them, they kicked them, punched them, rolled them, however you want to phrase it. Or maybe this is the best way to put it.
Kneecap.
Yeah, kneecaps were handed out in Dallas, Texas yesterday, with the Lions winning by a final score of 47-9. So I'll get to Detroit later in this segment because they were obviously my pick to win the NFC this year, and I've been high on the Detroit Lions for years on the show. Lions fans know that. Shout out to Detroit Lions fan base. They got great fans. But I want to talk about Dallas and really Detroit and the comparison between the two, because obviously goes out saying Detroit Lions are way better than Dallas. But I want to tell you a little quick story in the NFL. An NFL story. Let's go back about 4 years. 4 years till the end of the 2021 seasons. This would have been like very early into 2021, 3.5, 4 years ago. Let's go back that time, right? What were the Lions and what were the Cowboys? What had they done as franchises? Well, we could show you between 2011 and 2020. We could show you the numbers right here. Alfred Parsons Jr. put together this fantastic graphic. So the Lions won about 44% of their games, more like 45 if you round up. Cowboys won about 54% of their games if you round up. But both teams made the playoffs 3 times. Both teams did not make a single NFC Championship game. And if you think about the 2020 season, at the end of that year, you think about a Detroit Lions team that was, hadn't gone to the playoffs in multiple years in a row. Had a quarterback that was really talented, but a lot of folks, by the way, myself included at the time, were like, yeah, he's great, but he can't win the big game. And a coach who his entire reputation was staked on the back of a legend, or at least being associated with the legend, Matt Patricia with Tom Brady. That was Dallas. Same situation. No winning history, at least recently, just like the Detroit Lions. An outdated coach like Matt Patricia and Mike McCarthy, whose entire legacy is tied to the back of a legend, Aaron Rodgers. And as for Dak Prescott, I think he's phenomenal. Yesterday notwithstanding, yikes. Can't defend Dak today. QBR of 11, can't defend him today. But Dak Prescott, by and large, has been extremely productive throughout the course of his career, despite having nothing around him the last few years. But a lot of folks are like, yep, but he can't win the big game. A lot of similarities. But, they took very, very different directions after that 2020 season. Dallas, being the stubborn organization that they are, by the run of the stubborn owner / general manager that they have, said, hey, nothing wrong here. GM, who, by the way, celebrated his 82nd birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Jerry Jones. Kind of deserved the birthday present he got, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to keep the owner running things. We're going to keep the outdated head coach, who we know his legacy is tied to Aaron Rodgers and only Aaron Rodgers throughout the course of looks like we're dealing with technical issues. I apologize for that. You brought us from irrelevance to respectable. Detroit was fine. Detroit's an okay franchise. Detroit said, no, we're going to rebuild this thing from the ground up. We're going to hire Brad Holmes for the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to put together this trade, send Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams, get a boatload in return, and we've cashed in on almost all those picks. And, of course, we're going to hire probably the single best motivational head coach up there with Mike Tomlin of my Steelers, only guy in this guy's category in terms of having his guys ready to play every single Sunday. And what Dan Campbell's also going to do, because Dan Campbell's going to have his guys ready to play, but he's also going to put together a great staff. Aaron Glenn running the defense. Ben Johnson running the offense. The entire Lions organization is simpatico. They're on the same page at all times. They know what they want to do every single day of the week, particularly on Sundays. Or whenever they play. Mondays, Saturdays, Thursdays. Doesn't matter. Both the Cowboys and the Lions were in the same spot after the 2020 season. And they went in completely different directions. The Lions said, you know what? We're going to let the football people run things. We're going to hire a coach who's going to get the best out of our talent, whatever talent we may have, because in 2021, the Lions weren't very talented. They won 3 games. But remember that 2021 season? Boy, did they not fight their guts out till the end of every single game, till that clock hit 000. We could show you what the Lions have done in the draft since 2021. I decided to put together the 8 best draft picks for the Detroit Lions since 2021. So can we go and put that up there? Really good players. Penei Sewell, best right tackle in football. Amon-Ra St. Brown, top 10 receiver. Aiden Hutchinson, God bless him, biggest injury yesterday. I'll get to the kind of his future and what the Lions need to do after I talk about. Jamison Williams is a guy who could obviously spread, who could make the defense pay attention to a guy who could beat you over the top. Kirby Joseph, Pro Football Focus, loves this guy. Jahmyr Gibbs, Alvin Kamara 2.0, to a lesser degree. Alvin Kamara was a great player in his prime. Jahmyr Gibbs can certainly be that. Sam Laporta, great tight end, caught a touchdown on a double flea flicker yesterday. And Brian Branch, who had not one but 2 picks off Dak Prescott. So the Lions, safe to say, under Brad Holmes, have aced the draft. Now let's look at Dallas with the owner as the general manager. This is their 8 best picks. Micah Parsons, hit on that one. I got my criticisms of Micah, but it was not a bad pick by Dallas. Oso Odighizuwa, pretty good defensive tackle. Tyler Smith, depends on the Sunday, can be really good, can be Jalen Tolbert is a 4 or a 5. If he played for the Green Bay Packers, I'm not sure he'd make the team with how deep their wide receiving core is. Jake Ferguson, good tight end. He's good. He's nothing special. He's not bad. He's not great. He's good. Deron Bland, ball hawk, but gets burnt over the top a lot. Damone Clark, DeMarvion Overshown, he's pretty good. He's fast and stuff, and that's what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have done in the draft since 2021. It was a crossroads moment for both the Cowboys and the Lions after the 2020 season. One decided we're going to bring the best of the best minds within our organization, in the front office, and on the coaching staff, and we're going to put together a winner. We're going to put together a team that's capable of winning the Super Bowl. Last year could have easily gotten there, if not for understandable lack of trust in their kicker, let's put it that way, and atrocious defense all season long. Meanwhile, Dallas with the owner who's stubborn, egomaniacal, and just wants the credit for any amount of success that Dallas has. That big Thanksgiving Day win. It's knocking our socks off. Jerry Jones on the future of Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys. This was Jerry yesterday.
What would it take you to evaluate making a head coaching change in season?
I haven't even considered that. I'm not considering that. Just so you're clear, I'm not considering that.
But you've done it once before.
I wouldn't be a hypothetical in that matter. Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you? Okay, well, I'm not going to hypothetical with you about when I'd consider coaching change in light of the timing we're sitting here with. I'm not at all.
Listen, I don't think the Cowboys need to fire McCarthy now because, frankly, who's his heir apparent going to be? At least for this season. Mike Zimmer, does that defense look good? That's who you're going to replace him with? I mean, like the Cowboys don't because their coaching staff, I mean, you compare if Dan Campbell's not getting fired anytime soon. He's one of the best coaches in the league. But say Dan Campbell it was a disaster and they moved on. They could go Ben Johnson, who's going to be a head coach next year. They could go Aaron Glenn, who's, as the weeks have gone by, Detroit's defense gotten a little bit better week to week. Certainly held Dallas to 9 points at home. Dallas's coaching staff simply does not have that kind of depth. More than anything, though, because Jerry also said in his press conferences that he does on a weekly basis as if he's a coach or a player. Well, he's the GM. Yeah, GMs don't really do press conferences at all. Like John Lynch will do a couple of radio interviews throughout the course of the week. John Lynch ain't doing post-game interviews like Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and the rest of the Niners. I mean, that's not how they do business because San Francisco is a football first organization like the Lions are, like the Steelers are, like the Chiefs are, like the Ravens are. We can go on and on and on, which Dallas, of course, is not. Dallas at a crossroads even after this past 2023 season. Best offensive league, Dak nearly wins MVP. The defense is great. CeeDee Lamb has a career season, and they get hammered. One could say at this point, maybe broken by the Green Bay Packers. If you look at Dallas in their last 4 home games, going back to that, going back to that Green Bay game, you know what the average halftime score for the Cowboys in their last 4 home games has been? 28-9 at home. Now, you can say they're 3-0 on the road, but those wins are against Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones. Love him, but not Daniel Jones. I love Justin Fields. That's it. The home games have come against Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, and Jared Goff. The home losses for Dallas, at least, have come to those guys. Jerry had a decision to make. Either with a third consecutive disappointing playoff loss, he could have said, you know what? I can't go any further with this team. Dak Prescott's going to be a free agent after this next season. So is CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons as well a year after that. It's just not working. McCarthy's got 1 year left of his deal. Let's just go ahead and move on and blow this thing to smithereens like the Lions did. Maybe he could have, hired an actual GM in the process. There's an idea. Going out on a limb here, folks. He could have done that, or he could have said, well, I've seen signs. Dak was amazing last year. So was CeeDee Lamb. Offense after that, excuse me, was not good whatsoever. Maybe if we make a few more tweaks, add a few more pieces, maybe we can be a contender. Instead, he sat on his hands, let Tyron Smith walk out the back door, let Tyler Biadasz walk out the back door, let a number of guys who were productive for the Cowboys said, we don't have the money. Derrick Henry openly campaigned to go to Dallas. They said, we don't have enough money to pay him. Oh, it's funny. Derrick Henry's first in literally every single category that matters for running backs. This is a clown organization run by an egomaniacal owner whose primary goal and objective in Dallas is not to win, but to win with him getting the credit while simultaneously getting the best ratings and being able to be the topic of conversation around the National Football League. That's Jerry's goal. It's not to win football games. Never has been. At least in the last 30 years, it hasn't been. Since the day he fired Jimmy Johnson, hasn't been then. Poorly run franchise. This is what Dallas does. They're not a well-constructed roster. Said that from the jump. I only picked Dallas to make the playoffs because I was like, hey, I guess they're not that much worse than last year. And Dak and C. It's not going to work long term for this team. They're nowhere near a Super Bowl contender. That goes without saying. So they're a disaster. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.